Another episode of the pod, and I've got my spring shirt on, my spring summer shirt on.
It's because it's spring and summer.
Yeah, I'm getting my summery springness ready. Got my I've got my SPF on because it's really roasting and toasting in here.
Oh god, the UV in here is crazy.
Yeah, the UV in here is mental.
So much sunlight in here.
We're basically in the desert. It's just so much. Like, whoa, it's a bit hot. Might have to take my shirt off.
Yeah, I put factor 50 on this morning.
Did you? Oh, yeah. I can really see. You've got that like glossy SPF sheen on your face.
That's like the joke of like British people when the weather gets above 12 degrees.
You've got to get the little, like people who like, is it like lifeguards or something? They put like a bit of sun cream on their nose, like really thick sun cream on their nose.
That would be us, yeah. I mean, if that's us in spring, then our summer episodes are going to be, well, what are we going to do?
Just sit here naked.
Well, no, just be the you can't hear us talk because the AC is blasting at us the whole time. Won't be able to hear us.
We're like the only, I think we're the only British household that genuinely needs AC to function in the summer.
Yeah, no, I kind of do agree.
But yeah, anyway, that's enough about the glorious weather outside. Welcome to another episode of the pod.
So what are you going to talk to me about today?
So today, I have...
I caught you right as you do so.
I've self-titled it, Do People Have Healthy Hobbies Now? So...
Well, it's probably going to be the title of the episode,
yeah, exactly. So I like to think about, I like to plan out a nice title for myself before I start writing up things. That's just what I settled on. But the basic idea that I wanted to talk about comes from like a video that I watched on YouTube ages ago, which was talking about like particularly like TikTok specifically, but I guess social media generally, and how it's kind of ruining like reading culture.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that was kind of the video that I watched that we'll probably end up linking it anyway. But that was the video I watched that kind of inspired me because it made me think like a bit more less passively and more actively about like if this is actually like a thing that's happening or well, I should say I think it's very obvious that the internet has changed like the scope of hobbies that people have and also the way that people indulge in hobbies. Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone is disagreeing with that as a concept.
In what way?
Just like, the like the internet and things, and being able to have like limitless like exposure to almost everything. Like you don't have to work very hard to like find something new on the internet. Mm-hmm. Just the idea that it's made hobbies that otherwise people maybe wouldn't have known about, or very specific hobbies are like a lot more popular now, or just reach a broader audience. People who maybe, I don't know, people who are into plants, let's say, like it's it was just because I'm looking at all the plants on our windowsill. People nowadays, like there's so much information out there. There's like back in the more early days of the internet, you had like, I know these do exist still, but they're just, I don't think they're as popular due to social media, but like blogs and things like that people would have posted like tons and tons of like information and help and guides and this, that, the other. You can basically find a guide for anything on the internet, especially hobby related. Like
makes everything a lot more accessible. And plants specifically, like you can go to your local Sainsbury's and get like any number of exotic plants. Do you know what I mean? So obviously that's just other things. But yeah, no, like in terms of the internet, you find anything you want, you can do anything you want, you can learn anything you want, like.
But it's like, the idea is that like the internet, when I say the internet has changed like the way that hobbies, or the way that people either indulge in hobbies or gain hobbies or whatever, however you want to word it, or to just discover potential hobbies, even if they don't indulge in them in their personal lives, like even if it's just consuming someone else, and
taking an interest in something.
Like, for example, before the internet, like, you could probably still go to a Sainsbury's. I mean, I wasn't around. I was very young.
Yeah.
But before, you'd probably still be able to go into a Sainsbury's and pick up any number of the plants that I have in my house now. And there'd be a little care ticket on there that would say, like, do this for it. Which they do still have very often. I mean, they might not as much, but, like, you buy a bouquet of flowers, and on the back of the bouquet of flowers, it will tell you, like, if it's toxic to pets. Do you know what I mean? So, like, they do still exist. But, once upon a time, you would just have to buy that, trust that little care packet thing, or you might be bought a plant for a Christmas present or something and have just that to go off, and then, go down to your local library and read a book on plants if you find it interesting, or just kill it and then not get another plant. Whereas I think, like, this isn't actually something that I'd written to talk about specifically, but it's kind of just an anchor into what we're talking about already, so I might as well just continue. But the plant thing, I feel like a lot of people, it's not to say people didn't like plants earlier, prior to, like, this kind of, like, internet age of, like, people absorbing lots of new stuff all the time. But I feel like houseplants as, like, a hobby is, like, a really big thing now. I feel like a lot of people really like houseplants. I feel like that's something I could probably talk about separately. Like, that's a whole separate thing.
Yeah, the plant video is coming up.
Yeah, the plant video is coming up. But I think that, like, a lot of people post their, like, hobbies and stuff like that. So, people, like, that are really, like, really into plants, like, they have whole, like, channels and stuff, like, whole TikTok accounts, like, Facebook accounts, maybe not Facebook accounts now,
probably not,
but like Instagram accounts, things like that, just dedicated to posting, propagating, just new plants they've got, things like that. But I guess the way that relates to what I wanted to talk about, in the sense of, do people have healthy hobbies, is, like, whether things like, I guess, going on the topic of, like, social media, whether things like the pressure to post and share your hobbies kind of ruins that, and, like, the act of having a hobby just because you have a hobby becomes about comparison and validation.
Oh, okay,
and whether it becomes about that.
So, like, when you say that, like social media is, like, ruining hobbies, do you mean that, well, I guess, do you mean it in the way you said just then, which is, like, because it's more for show than it would be for enjoyment, because it's more about, or is it the types of hobby that is...
Not so much about the types of hobby, because I kind of, when looking into this, like, and also from some of the videos I watched anyway, there are, like, positives to particularly, like, the internet. Like, I watched one video which was about specifically how the internet ruined hobbies, but specifically just another one which is just about, like, social media. But there is something to be said that, like, internet isn't just a bad thing. Like, having internet access, like, posting things, that it's not a bad thing, because otherwise, like, people wouldn't know these things. But it's just whether it's oversaturated. But I kind of, when looking at it, I didn't just look into, like, the idea of, like, the pressure to post or share your hobbies and, like, being, like, the best at a hobby and things like that. Like,
like the validation of...
Yeah, like, that's one aspect of what I discussed, because it's a very open-ended question. I don't come to a conclusion that it is or isn't healthy.
That's why I asked, because it's something that I don't really... I don't know. I don't know as much, maybe, or have maybe as strong opinions as you about, because I just don't know. So, like, when you ask the question, like, is like, internet or is social media, like, affecting things, I have lots of questions, you know what I mean? Because I'm like... That's fine. How? Like, in what way?
And to be fair, the way I've written everything and the way I've, like, researched, it's very, like, loose, because this is kind of more of an open-ended question. There's not really, like, a...
It's not clear to me, that's for sure.
There's not really, like, a history that I could follow, or, like, a specific pipeline that, like, leads you to a yes or no answer.
Like an obvious answer.
It's very much like... This is just something that, like, when I first watched the video on YouTube about, like, reading and, like, and colouring as a hobby was the other one she talks about in the video.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's, like, TikTok, isn't it? Colouring.
But when I first watched that, it kind of led me down that thought of being, like, the specific video I thought was quite good, but the way that she spoke about this concept kind of just made me think, oh, that is actually a very interesting take. And then I watched a different video by this guy about specifically how the internet ruined hobbies. I do have like the links to them, so I'll probably just put them in our like description for this. But originally I wasn't necessarily thinking about whether the internet has something to play in this whole topic, but then that video made me kind of want to talk about that a little bit, because I feel like sometimes talking about internet bad, AI bad, things like that, like it's like beating a dead horse, I think, a little bit, because everyone knows that like the internet has bad qualities, like the same way that everyone knows that AI has bad qualities, but it doesn't stop like the BBC from posting adverts about how great AI is.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
You know?
Yeah.
So
encouraging its use and effective.
Yeah.
How to talk to ChatGPT effectively.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. So weird. But
no, I get your point though, because like it's pretty common views of like, you know, like how bad and harmful social media can be, and like all these kind of things that people just, you know, you kind of take it for granted, because like that's just kind of fact. That,
it honestly just feels like low-hanging fruit to
talk
about how bad the internet is, and it's ruining everything, kids these days.
But I mean, there's lots of other takes. I mean, like I say, you can't really see past the like, you know, encouraging of like things like bullying and like how people be so like self-conscious and like feel the need to like justify and like seek validity. Is that right? Validity?
Validation?
Seek validation.
Validity?
On like based on like posting things online and stuff like
Deavion?
Validity? Yeah, you can't really argue that, but I mean obviously it goes without saying as well that, you know, it's amazing and like blah blah blah. There's lots of other takeaways that are positive.
I actually quoted it because I thought it was really interesting, because most of the things that I wrote on here are like quotes that then I just wanted to make a note of so that I could then expand or like just discuss with you about them. But something that the guy, his name's Levi, that I watched a video that he made about this topic, he said, and I quote, "The internet is a digital third space but needs to be more of a jumping off point for physical interactions." So I think that is like the main point. Like the internet's great, it's not a problem, but it becomes a problem when our consumption of the internet is that the internet is our like only third space. Like we aren't using that as a way to maneuver into other third spaces. Yeah. You know, things like you go bouldering, climbing, whatever you want to call it, right? Like you could watch videos like on the internet all day, every day of people bouldering and be in like bouldering forums and group chats and shit like that.
But I'm gonna do it myself.
But yeah, like it's not the same as like physically going to that space and having that as a third space, like making friends potentially within that space and actually discussing like face to face. So I think the point is that like the internet is great, I think, as a tool to discover things that you otherwise wouldn't know, or like
for sure
unlock that potential to like enjoy something in a physical space.
So is the kind of, I was going to say harm, not really harm, but is the kind of problem there that you're talking about, is it that you know, you could be an expert on like, I don't know, let's say plants or whatever. You could, because that was a good example. You could be an expert on plants and like you could be like watch so much like plant content online and like plant TikTok and like plant care and
plant
like,
talk,
exotic plants and all this kind of thing. But you like go to your house and you have like 3 plants or something. Do you know what I mean? Is that kind of what you're talking about? How like someone can be so obsessed with a thing but then not really practice it as much as they may like talk about it or like express it?
I think so in a way. Or like, you know, the nature of like being really like, you know, you consume say a lot of plant content and you're like, oh my god, like I know everything there is to know, like I'm so clever, and then you get like, and then I come to your house and all your plants are dead.
Yeah, exactly, that's what I'm saying. Or
like you've got 100 plants but they're all dead because you didn't actually know anything, because you don't practice that thing. You just like to feel like included. And I think that's the thing about the internet space, it's like people like to feel included in a space. So it's kind of like, it's almost like very easy to convince someone of something on the internet because you kind of just want to be in that space.
If you were going to like be incredibly black and white about it, right? And this isn't the case, I don't think this, but if you're in order for a hobby to be a hobby, right, you need to have the thing you're interested in, I don't know, people to do it with, and, like, actually do the thing, right? Do you know what I mean? And again, like, that's blanket, that's not how it is. I don't define things like this. But as an example, if you're just in an online community, right, you're interested in a thing, and you might be doing it with other people in a way, because you're talking about other people, but if you're not physically doing anything, if you're just doing the, you know, online, talking about stuff, making content, or, I don't know, whatever, is that the point that you're kind of missing out on a bit of, like, the foundation of what it actually is? You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't really have a definitive answer, like, myself, but I would probably say yeah, or I think it can potentially be that way.
Yeah, potential, I think, is the right way to put it.
I think it has the potential. Like, I read up a lot of, like, the way that it kind of, affects, you know, people's, like, pressure to make online spaces, to make online personas, to, like, seek validation can take, like, the joy away from it, I think, is a bigger thing.
Present themselves in a certain way.
You know, you might spend, like, a really long time, like, enjoying a hobby. Say you play guitar and you're really good at it, and you've spent a long time, like, you don't post videos about it, like, you don't necessarily, like, you just do this thing because you like doing this thing. But then you get to a point where people tell you, like, oh, you're really good at that, like, you know, the classic thing, I think this happens a lot, like, the classic thing is, like, oh, you're really good at that, like, you should make money from that, like, you should do that online, like, or you should, you know, you paint, oh, you're really good at painting, you should sell your paintings online.
Or you should, like, upload your...
Yeah, that idea of, like, having to make it, whether you're actually getting money from it is besides the point, but making it some sort of, like, you get some sort of income from it. Like, whether that's, like, validation or, like, an audience or money. Like, it's that idea that nothing can just be, like, just about the joy of the process. Or, like, you know, it's about making it feels like a lot of the time putting your hobbies on the internet can become a pipeline to just making your hobbies a product. Like, making them, like, an end product for people to consume. Social media can turn, like, hobbies into, like, something that could be active into something that's passive. So, like, if you're sat there, you really like climbing, bringing back to that example, you go climbing and you're like, fine, you know, you do a climb, and then you sit there and you spend, like, 6 hours at home watching people climbing. Suddenly, like, you're watching people that do it better than you. You know, if you go and do that thing again, you're still, like, you're not actively putting any of that stuff that you've learned into practice. You're just passively consuming
it's difficult too, isn't it?
Yeah, I know it's difficult, and that was probably not the best example for something like that, but it's the idea that, like, you'd be like, oh, I really like this thing, but, like, you know, you're watching tips and tricks videos, but you actually have no active business putting those into practice. You're just passively consuming. That's what I was going to say. It's just another way to keep people
that's what
invested.
That's what I was going to say earlier. Like, talking about plants again. Like, if I was really into bouldering, which I am, but if I was super into it, and, like, if 90% of my, let's say, time with that hobby was watching stuff online about it, that's fine. But, like you say, then when you actually come to do it, like, my ability is not going to be as if I did it the other way around and practice for 90% of the time and then consume content for 10% of the time.
Yeah.
It'd be, like, completely different. So, but, like, it's an easy kind of, it is easily encouraged by, like, things like algorithms and things, isn't it? It's so easy to fall down that hole because as soon as, like, I don't know, YouTube or TikTok or anything, or, like, picks up that
catches wind that you're building a PC.
Then instantly, if you Google one thing, like, instantly your whole page is flooded with. So it's so easy to just be like, oh, that's interesting.
Well, what was it you said to me? What was it you said today? We were watching, like, a video on YouTube on the TV.
Oh yeah.
And you were like, oh my god, I'm getting the nerdy spec adverts for their Switch 2 that I've never seen before, all because you've Googled.
Had you seen that one before?
No, I've never seen that
neither.
before.
It's like, oh, Switch 2 is capable of, like, 4K resolution.
All these things, great,
okay.
fabulous. Whereas the normal advert is just like a family playing
Mario Kart.
Switch 2. Yeah.
Like, it knows me too well now.
Well, it doesn't know you too well. It thinks it knows. It's trying to predict you.
It is, yeah. Also, though, before I forget, going back to, I know it's slightly different, but when you said about, like, making money off of, like, things you enjoy, that's something I thought quite a bit about, actually, because I feel like things change when you start making money from things, right?
Yeah.
So if you have something you enjoy, then that's great. And obviously you should be able to do work that you enjoy, you know, you should be able to make money in something that's like fulfilling to you, obviously. But I think the enjoyment it does somewhat like shift, right? When you go from just being like, oh, this is fun, to being like, I'm like financially dependent on like a thing.
I think the enjoyment can suffer, definitely.
I just want to pick up on that because like that's something that I thought about, and when you mentioned it, I was like, that is a good point, you know, because it does change a lot, and I think it goes a fair way into changing the nature of, say, hobbies, and with the like, with the state of like social media and the internet things now, it's so easy to like just go viral and you see it happen quite often where like one person has like one video that gets like 1 million views, and then they're suddenly like, right, I'm gonna do this.
Capitalize on this.
Yeah, I'm gonna make money from doing things I love, and then it gets a bit like forced.
It's kind of like it's kind of like it makes me think like I think the internet as a whole, in some regards, you know, there's so much like push on like, I guess it's just like capitalism, isn't it, in a nutshell? Just everything you do has to be monetizable,
make money,
and because the internet is in everyone's homes, it's in everyone's lives, it's in like it's around you all the time, it's easier than ever to make money like by doing nothing, air quotes, because people kind of take it as like, oh well, you already do this thing, like you might as well make money from it. And I think like, you know, that's not necessarily like a bad thing, like you know, a lot of people have had amazing success through doing things that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to do, that they enjoy online,
that they're able to
and have an audience and monetize it. But I think it's just the case of, I think, you know, you see a couple, it's like survivor bias, isn't it? You see a couple of people really successful at it, and then it becomes this thing where like, oh my god, everyone can do it. When in reality, like, not everyone is going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Not everyone is going to make money, or even substantial amounts of money from their hobby. Like I watch the YouTuber like Gabby Bell. I was about to call her Gabby Balls because of her second channel thing. But she in, I don't know what video it was that she made, but I remember her saying something that was really interesting, which was like she wanted to do music and she wanted to be a musician, but she thought it would be easier to do like YouTube videos, like commentary-esque videos, to garner an audience and then use that as a jumping off point to make music, because so much of like that sort of creative sphere, especially now, is about who you know, how many people you have that follow you, because it's people like bigger companies that do have the money, they don't want to take risks on people that they don't have audiences. And I guess the easiest way, in air quotes, the easiest way to get an audience is through having a name on the internet, because the internet is everywhere and it acts as like your online CV for things like that. That's from like a creative standpoint.
Kind of becomes, it's just inherently a part of everything, isn't it? Really?
And it makes it, going off of like my own sort of like knowledge and like things that relate loosely to me. I kind of made a note about like how maybe people that are doing like acting, for example, or performing, you know, might want to take up like a lot of hobbies to try and fit a niche of a role at some point. Like, and I know that sounds really silly, but like things like, you know, because things are so like monetizable and like everyone wants to be like the most amazing, like because you can just see that everyone is always better, there's always someone better than you. Or like, for example, we've talked about Starlight Express before, because I enjoy roller skating.
I was just about to say that.
Wait, okay.
It was on the tip of my tongue.
So like, you know, if someone was going into an audition, like pretty much most, if not all of the people that are in Starlight Express or have been in Starlight Express go into like a skate camp. Like they don't skate or have any skate experience prior, because they just don't bother looking for that, because looking for cast upon cast of people that all happen to be able to roller skate would be impossible.
Yeah.
So,
but you can give yourself a head start.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make. Is like if you just happen to be someone who was really good at roller skating or had some skating experience, you would probably be a lot more likely, because they don't have to spend as long training
they have to pay for a week less of intensive skate camp.
This is what I'm saying. You can start in week 2 rather than week 1.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, so it's like the thing of, you know, you might push yourself to, you know, take up a bunch of different dance classes and take up a bunch of different random niche hobbies, like do horse riding, I don't know, like just so that you have like padded out.
Something to make you stand out. And
something to make you stand out. And that's kind of, that made me think of that because of saying, like, the internet acts as, like, your virtual CV these days. If you have an online presence, like, people looking for you can see, oh, she does this, or, oh, like, they like doing this, that, the other, like, oh, they're a really interesting person, they can do X, Y, Z. So I think it also encourages people, even from just like not just a community standpoint, but potentially a work or creative or career pressure way to post what they do and everything that they do. You know, even things like, even if you don't intend to get anything from it, if you make music, if you make art, like, you might post it just because you never know. There's like, you know, you always just post it because, like, it's like a point of being like, oh, look what I can do. Because you never know who's going to see what you can do.
No, that's fair. And it's also so easy to just put stuff online. Especially
if you've already made it, if you're already doing that thing. You could just be like, I feel like nowadays it's almost like a natural pipeline. You make something and then you go, you don't tend to put it down and go, oh, well, that was nice. I'm glad I made that. I'm glad I spent 7 hours doing that thing. No, like, it's like I can't wait to, like, take a photo of this and show people.
And
I think that's normal to a degree. Like, people want to show people things they've done. But it's like, even like my like flowers and stuff that have come out of my orchid. Like, I've been working on that plant for so long. And she hasn't wanted to flower for like 2 years, and now she's got like 11 flowers on her, and I'm like, oh my god. Like, everyone check it out. Like, look at my plant. That's my hard work right there. Like,
which you could do. Like, that's very valid, you know, because she's been stubborn for a while, hasn't she? But I think, again, there's I think it depends on your intention, doesn't it? Like, if you've done a thing and then you use social media to, like, seek validation, or like because you're insecure or you want to show off, or, you know, all these negative things, all the negative sides of the internet and social media. If you're using it for that reason, then that's, you know, that's not great. But if there's positives to it too, right? Like, like the music I made a little while back, with the like music from Silksong, I wanted to do that just for something fun to do, and like I wanted to, like, shoot it, and like I wanted to edit it, and I wanted to make it look cool, because I wanted, like, a fun little project to do with some free time. And I used, like, uploading that thing as a way of being like, right, this is done, this is over now. Do you know what I mean?
Otherwise you'll keep working on it.
Well, exactly, yeah. And in a way, it's even to a similar extent, is this very thing we're doing right now and filming right now.
That's
you know,
true.
we upload it because it's then, that's done, that's out there. You know what I mean? Because otherwise you would nitpick and you would look at the details for, like, way too long. But if you have, like, all right, I'm going to put it online, you can be like, well, I'm done with this thing. It's out there. There's nothing I can do about it. It's gone. Do you know what I mean? So there's some positives to it. But yeah, no, I completely agree. If your, like, mindset about it is wrong, then it's so easy to fall into, like, negative loops of, like,
I think the point, like, to me, the reason why, like, I think it's not ever obviously black and white, but I think for me the point is also that we can say that, oh, wanting to post for validation is a negative thing, but I think things like that, for example, are, like, they don't always have to be so, like, 100%. Like, you might just want, like, I think it's normal to want a little bit of validation, like, as people. And I think that very often that's why we as people just fall into social media so heavily, because it is a way to be like, hey, everyone that I don't necessarily have time to see all the time, or that I don't necessarily have time to talk to all the time, like, look what I'm up to, like, look what I can do, like, not because you want everyone to be like, wow, you're absolutely incredible, but just because it's like, you get that little bit of, like, when you see that your friend has seen what you've been up to. You know, it's the same way that when we made this, and, like, I had some people that, like, I haven't seen in a long time be like, I really enjoyed that, like, when are you going to make more and stuff like that. Like, obviously it wasn't for the intention of, like, making some big thing that's going to be like, wow, this is going to be, like, the next big thing. Like, it was more for, like, you know, just because we wanted to do it. And, you know, sometimes we have times where it's, like, difficult, or, like, we don't have time to set up and make these things. And I think that's different because we don't sit there going, God, we really have to do it. Sometimes in my head, like, I've had this written out for a little while, and I've wanted to do it for a while, but I know that it's just not possible. It's like, sometimes in my head I'm like, oh God, we really need to do that. But it's not that we need to do it. It's just, I know it's there, and I know it's like it's ready, it's in my brain. And it's like I can see the time like passing. But if it was a case of we actually made any sort of money, for example, from this, like that would then I think probably become negative, because it would be a we have to, not a
if there's
we
like
want to.
that's kind of what I meant earlier, like when as soon as you become reliant on something financially and there's like time pressures and stuff, like you wouldn't, well, I'm sure you would still love the thing you do, but there'd be a different kind of feeling. It'd feel like you needed to do something rather than just purely wanting to, wouldn't it?
The other thing on the topic of like feeling like you have to do something or whatever, like another quote that I wrote down was about how like the way that these activities or like hobbies have become increasingly valued for their monetary or social value in our lives is completely inescapable. So like the idea that not just like if you're making money from it, but like just if you think it makes you look cool or makes your social status cooler, or like, you know, if everyone that you know does this thing and you don't do it, like it's that classic like human need for community and to be a part of something. So I think that is also true, because, you know, like you said about algorithms.
Yeah, almost like jealous of
other people.
The like impossible standards you see online. But in a different way though, I suppose, because there's two sides of that. The sides of like what you view yourself and then what you might make yourself. Because if you're making something like you say just to be like, oh look friends, like look what I'm up to, that's great obviously. But and there's a huge difference between that and like making stuff like with the purpose of like getting in the algorithm. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's just like completely different. You could make something in that style and like just share it with your friends and like that's cool. Like, it doesn't matter. But there is a big difference between that sort of posting and the posting which is like, I'm trying to make this pick up. I'm trying to get views. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm using like, you know, the sounds that are popular at the minute. Yeah. Or the formats that are popular at the minute. It's like very, very different.
Well, I did just want to like, I think we're gonna stop for a brew break in a second. I don't actually know how long we've been recording, but I have finished my tea.
I could go for a tea.
But I did want to just like leave the point of saying about like, as much as there's a lot of like negativity that you can take from it, and you can be very like pessimistic about it.
It's easy to be pessimistic.
Yeah, like I guess it does, having a whole plethora of people out there that will do a thing that you want to do or something that you do at the moment but aren't maybe the best at, like it does have positive sort of like creative fueling. Like it allows people like at any point in your life to discover like something that is either an old hobby or a new hobby that it might make people feel more possible to actually try.
Yeah, and you can feel like you're not alone in like enjoying something if like no one in your immediate vicinity in real life has any relation to it.
I wanted to mention that because I think like we've joked about it, but like obviously I've recently like retaken up roller skating as a hobby.
For the sake of getting into Starlight Express, yeah.
But no, like I recently have started doing that, and like we keep talking about how like ever since I started doing that and I'm talking to people about it, like, you know, my parents used to roller skate and stuff, and like they're like, whoa, like, oh, I wonder if I could still do that. Or like your mum even used to roller skate and was like yesterday was like, oh well, that's pretty cool, like oh, I wonder if I could still do that. And like it's that thing of like, obviously mine is not like social media based or like, you know, like I think it's just like you have imagined that but at a bigger scale. You know, I post videos about my roller skating and some other people might see that, say, and they could be from anywhere in the world at any age, and they might be like, wow, actually, do you know what, roller skating is really cool, like I really want to do that. Like I really want to try that. And like seeing people fall over, seeing people do things that you might be scared to do, and seeing them actually do the scary thing, like I guess it's just inspiring, isn't it, to people, like wanting to just do a thing, like, oh, I can't do this, but like, oh, maybe actually I can.
Yeah, I mean, even like some of the stuff you showed me of like people roller skating online, like at skate parks and like doing crazy stuff, it's so cool. And like I don't have like a immediate interest in that exact thing, but like I think like what should I say? I think like that kind of culture is really cool. Like BMX and like, you know, skating and all this kind of thing. I think it's really cool.
Well, I mean, me getting roller skates inspired you to like actually
Yeah.
just go and buy a BMX so that you can come out with me.
Exactly. Like I think it's so cool. So like it inspires me, but in just a less direct. Like I don't see that and be like, oh my god, I want to do that exact. Like I don't want to learn how to roller skate. I don't want to do that exact.
You don't want to go down, like you don't want to drop in and absolutely whack your butt.
No, I don't want.
I definitely didn't do that, and it definitely didn't really hurt.
I'm not. I don't want to do that. I don't do that. But it is still cool. Like it's just in a way of just like seeing something you think is cool as like, you know, TikTok feeds it to you. Like it's still cool. It's still cool. So there's benefit for like lots of reasons in sharing.
And I think as well, like the act of if you see someone that you might know a little bit more directly or closer, like rather than just a random stranger on the internet, because sometimes I think as well you can detach yourself from people that you see on the internet. But if it's someone that is a friend of a friend of a friend, or someone that's your friend, or someone that you knew a long time ago, and you're like, what? Oh my god, like I think that's why like social media has that kind of reach, because if it happens to be someone that you know a bit more, I think it makes you more like there's more incentive to be like, wow, that is inspiring, because you know that person, you know that like, wow, that's cool that person that I know is capable of this thing or makes this thing really cool. Like you know, like my friend that made our wonderful little froggies, you know, she had crochet as a hobby, and to be honest, I knew that she could crochet and knit, but like it wasn't ever something that was like immediately like until she started doing it like a lot more when she was pregnant, and then like, you know, made her business and stuff. And now it's like I show people things that she's crocheted and they're like, whoa, that is incredible. Like, oh, I wish I could do that. Like,
again, I wish I could do that.
Yeah, it's cool.
I don't have a direct interest in crocheting, but it's cool.
Yeah.
It's sick, you know? Like, yeah.
And on that note, I will make us a cup of tea.
Oh yeah, go on now. I mean, well, first off, we need to say that we've lied to our audience.
Have we?
Because we did not have cups of teas. We have cups of coffees.
Yeah, but we had to brew it, so it's fine.
Had to brew what?
Nothing.
The coffee?
Yeah.
Huh?
They don't know we have an espresso machine. Wait,
oh
no,
I
I just gave it away.
I get your point. Okay.
We could have been brewing it in a French press. You were like, brewing what?
You completely lost me. I was like, you don't brew coffee? What are you talking about?
You do
You're
some
crazy.
coffee.
Yeah.
You are just silly.
So, mark that down on the coffee chart.
I had
tea today.
I had an Earl Grey, was my first tea. You had just a regular.
I had the
gold blend.
The box of lovely tea that I've been getting through. I'm not saying I regret doing the tea episode. The tea episode was really fun. Probably one of my favourite ones we've done. But I've been drinking a lot of Sainsbury's tea.
How far down are you in the box, do you think?
Is over halfway, I think.
Jesus.
Like, and I think there's 80 in there. So.
I liked when you told me that when your friend came round, you were going to try and flog her the tea.
Yeah.
And you never did, you forgot.
Well, actually, technically that's spoilers for our tea episode. That was the secret tea.
They knew that it was the secret tea. They should know.
Well, if you've watched the episode.
Go back and watch the episode.
So yeah, I've been struggling. I've been struggling getting through that box of tea. I'm such a martyr, you know.
Yeah, world's smallest violin. Anyway, so back to where we were.
Where were we?
I mean, I kind of like felt like we rounded out what we were specifically talking about at the time quite nicely. So I
Tell
will
me
not.
Something new.
Yeah, we'll not continue. But one thing that, you know, we'd kind of talked about the idea of like passively consuming content. You know, the pressure to post and share content. You know, also we spoke the positives of like it inspires people and fuels people's creativity. But the only thing I didn't talk about specifically was the sort of niche idea, like the new thing that is like hobby apps.
Oh, okay.
I hadn't thought about this until I like
hobby
looked
apps.
into these sort of things, because I kind of first stumbled across this sort of like not idea but like you know, people talking about this as like a negative or to like as part of this wider conversation about how hobbies are changing and things. And people talked about like how there are so many apps that create like niche communities but also like pressure to perform, and they encourage like quantity over quality. And what I mean by that is think things like I think it's called like Strava for running.
So I was gonna say Strava. The first thing that came into my mind, which is probably not what you're thinking of, was Duolingo.
That too, actually. That's one I hadn't thought about.
Because technically, you kind of put each other against. You can see your friends earning XP or whatever.
Yeah, and then you've got Duo that's like telling you he's going to kill your family if you don't do your Duolingo on time.
Better get on the app. But no, I also Strava as well, because I mean I've never used it, but like you can see when everyone else you're friends with does like runs, right?
And that creates this like pressure potentially to run more.
If you're having a bad day and you're just like...
Yeah, if you broke your leg and you're seeing everyone do their Strava runs and you're like, damn, I'm never going to get that couch to 5k, Jesus!
My friends just run a marathon and I'm just sat here like, oh...
Yeah, literally. So there's that, and then there was also relating to book sort of like the book hobby, the book sphere, which I will talk about.
Reading.
Yeah, there's also like things like Goodreads, which you might not know what that is.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, so like, where people just like will read books, rate them, and it becomes like they have like almost like pie graphs and stuff of like how many books you've read that year.
Yeah.
And everyone can see them and stuff like that. Like that's... That does add, like, why do I need statistics for how much I've ran this year? How many books I've read this year? When I just want to read a book.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's interesting just for, like, in a personal sense, I suppose. Like, if that was just like, oh, like, wow, like...
You've been personally wronged by Strava.
Well, no. But, like, on, say, like, Goodreads or whatever, like, if you're like, oh, wow, like, I've read this many books, that's pretty cool. Or, like, oh, I've read this type of books, or like that's cool, that's interesting. But I see your point, like it is almost like a competitive,
they're not necessary sense. I think is the point. Like a lot of them that exist you don't really need. It's like how we were talking about and there probably are people out there that would be like, well actually this is how this works, and it does work, but we were talking about like Apple Watches and things like that, weren't we, yesterday? Because I can't remember why, but I looked on my phone to see, like, we'd gone out like skating one day and I wanted to see if it had tracked it as steps. And I looked and I was like, how on that day did I do less steps than I do at work a day? Like by a lot as well. Made not a lot of sense. And I thought, well, it must have not tracked it correctly, like based off of steps, because it must not register them as steps.
No.
And it got us talking about like the idea of, like Apple Watch culture, like Fitbit culture, like fitness
very
watches.
similar to Strava, I suppose.
Yeah, and how like there's just this like having an Apple Watch, realistically, like its main use is for fitness purposes, but realistically you don't need it, because do you really need have a very, very specific necessity to know exactly how much you've done this, because you can set them to do like horseback riding.
Yeah.
And how is that possibly registering correctly how much calories you've burnt from doing
specifically horseback
riding? It's like there probably is some science behind it, but like the point is that I guess it's just like when it becomes to a point of like not everyone needs an Apple Watch.
Yeah, well, I think that's the point, isn't it? Is that like the amount of people that could like genuinely justify like I need like this fitness watch or whatever, if you're like an athlete, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
it's like the ads that you see for Apple Watches are always like Olympians like swimming in a pool, like famous like you've got like Tom Daley doing his diving with his Apple Watch on.
Yeah, exactly. But like 95% probably of people who have Apple Watches it says the time and like it's like a screen
and it tells you like, oh, I got to stand up now because I've been sitting down for too long. It's just another Duolingo, but for fitness. It just tells you you're being a fat cow and you've got to stand up.
No like smoke. No offense to anyone who's like owns an Apple. It's okay to own an Apple Watch.
Yeah.
But I
just personally find it like
I wouldn't use one.
I just personally find it like such a high price tag for something so
that's the point.
Unnecessary.
Yeah, if it was cheap, I'd be like I think it's so cool. I think digital, like not digital. I guess it's digital, but like a watch with a display. I think that's so cool. Like concept of like an Apple Watch or any other like Pixel watch, so cool. But like I'm not going to pay that much money for like to be able to track
just
my steps.
Just so I can see exactly how little steps I'm doing today.
I don't have the interest to
spend. And also like I don't
pounds.
want to be offended every day when I look down at my watch and see that I've like done like a marathon's worth of steps at work. Like that's just going to make me feel like crap. Like, I don't need that.
Or equally the other way around.
Or how badly I've slept. Like, thank you, Apple Watch.
I know I slept bad.
Like, yeah, I know. I'm aware.
You don't need to tell me.
I have this thing called a body for a reason. I don't need everything written on a screen to tell me how, like, crap I feel.
Yeah.
Or how high my cortisol levels are. Like, you don't need to tell me.
Telling me how I should be feeling.
Like, I know I'm stressed. You're making me more stressed.
My watch is manipulating me.
But no, that was such a detour from what we're talking about. But I think it is like that point of like, you know how I was saying about like creates like niche communities and pressure to perform, like things like Apple Watches and stuff, like even down to like the advertisements for Apple Watches, like fitness apps, like it's always like famous people or athletes, things like that like will sort of promote these things, or people that have some sort of reputation that people trust.
Yeah.
It's the same way that you have like, this is so unrelated, but like box dye companies. Box dye is notoriously bad for your hair, right? But you'll have people like famous people that actually do promote them, and legally they have to use those products to be...
Do they actually legally have to? I didn't know that.
This is a fun little
okay.
side note for you. But like, so for example, there'll be like a box dye that's like, I know there's like a really well-known one that's supported by like Holly Willoughby or whatever her name is.
Oh right, yeah.
And it's just like this blonde box dye.
Whatever her name is.
I think that's how you say her name.
You don't... Yeah, it's Holly Willoughby.
Yeah, it is. It is. Okay, cool. So her face is like all over the box and packaging and stuff, right? And like all the adverts are like, I use this, right? And so legally, so it's not false advertising, she has to legally have that on her hair. But it's... What tends to happen is people that do that will use it for like their root colours with like a butt ton of other colours thrown in. I found this out from... This could be slightly wrong, and obviously I'm taking it with a pinch of salt because I don't know explicitly.
Yeah.
But it was someone who was like a hairstylist who used to work in like a salon, and people would come in that had promotions with these like companies.
Oh, okay.
They would bring the dye in, but they would never have their hair done out on like floor. It would always be in like a back room. And
you can't see
definitely like a ton of other colours in there. Like it's a little bit there, but it's not a lot. Like because obviously like for legal reasons you have to be using that product to, so it's not false advertising.
Makes a lot of sense.
Like Claudia Winkleman with her Head and Shoulders.
That's what I was gonna say. I think that's probably the most like, okay, maybe not famous, but like when I think of that kind of thing, I think of like the classic like, she doesn't use Head and Shoulders. Like she doesn't. Like
she definitely she will have to use it
at some point
or some semi consistently.
Yeah.
To be able to say all the things that she's claiming.
Like maybe she does. That's fine.
But she probably has a hairstylist do her hair, sometimes with Head and Shoulders, and some because it's a dandruff shampoo. If you're using that much dandruff shampoo, that's not good for your hair. Like, that is a known fact. You should not be... No one needs to realistically be using dandruff shampoo for every single wash.
And again, anyone that uses Head and Shoulders, like, no, you know, don't get angry at us. You know, you can use that. It's fine. It's fine.
I'm going to tell you a little anecdote about Head and Shoulders. When I had blue hair and I could not get the blue out of my hair, and I really wanted to, my hairdresser explicitly told me to buy a bottle of Head and Shoulders because it would strip the colour out of my hair, and it did. It really did. It didn't strip all of it because blue is notoriously hard to get out of hair. But
it helped.
But it helped massively. But my hair was horrifically dry after it. Really badly dry.
Damn. So we're not going to get that...
It's not to say Head and Shoulders is bad. Like
we're not going to get that Head and Shoulders sponsorship anytime soon, are we?
The thing is, Head and Shoulders, Shoulders and like dandruff shampoos aren't bad. It's just that the way they're formulated to deal with dandruff.
They have a use case.
Yeah, they're for specific uses. Like, it's not the same way that you just buy like any other like random Superdrug whatever like or Boots like shampoo for your hair. Like dandruff shampoos are made for people with dandruff, and also very often like dandruff shampoos are not made to be used consecutively. Like they're meant to be used as like a treatment.
I mean, they're trying to fight that though, aren't they? All their like ads over recently is that like I'd use it regularly, so of course I don't have dandruff. Rather than like, I have dandruff, therefore I use it.
Yeah, that's the thing that I find a bit weird, because obviously there are people that know more about this than me. This is not what we're talking about.
This is completely...
not what we're talking about.
This is the... do you know what, actually? We need like some sort of ranking system. This is probably the furthest off topic I think we've ever gone.
How did we get there from Strava? How did we get here?
Well, how... I'm trying to think back. How...
No, because we're wasting more time thinking back. Don't think back. Bring it back. Come back.
Further off topic.
Yeah, it gets further off topic. Stop. I will continue. I don't even remember what I was saying.
Okay, next video is the tier list of how off topic we've ever gone. This is S2.
Anyway.
Where were we?
Coming back. Yeah, because that is ridiculous. So obviously, I think we've kind of already touched on like the idea of hobby apps. I don't think there's really much more that we could really talk about like relating to that. I think it's just an interesting point of like comparison.
Some kind of negative feedback loop of like seeing getting jealous of people or whatever, and
but on the topic of that, I think it like nicely links into like I like the idea of like book talk. And like that's a really big one that like when I first like looked at all this, that was like one of the biggest things that I found that like is a really obvious, like you can see how it's negatively impacted this sphere of hobby.
One of the very few ones that I like have heard about of like just kind of book talk or whatever. Like that's one that I've heard about. Do you know what I mean?
But I watched some videos and I wrote my own little cycle of how the internet negatively affects...
Oh, cool. Okay.
Or how trend culture negatively affects books. So I wrote it as one person reviews a book, and then another person reviews it. It gains popularity. Everyone reviews the book to jump on the trend before it passes, leaving books on their shelf that they would have otherwise been reading or intending to read so that they can read the trend before it's not a trend. Therefore convinces people to buy the book over reading many that they already have, speeding up terrible habit of poor quality, badly edited trending books.
Oh, I see.
Because
right. So it encourages...
It speeds up the way that the trend loop.
Yeah. So does it even encourage authors to be pumping out stuff like that?
Yeah, because I watched a lot of videos that show, like, people will go through, like, you know, like the Waterstone sections of, like, new releases.
Yeah.
And they'll scroll through and just, like, pick out a bunch of, like, really easily missed... like editing mistakes, spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes that have just not been seen because the book has been written and like thrown to the shelves as quick as it possibly can be. And I don't know the author, and also I wouldn't want to like slag off the author anyway because it's not my place.
We've already lost our Head and Shoulders sponsorship. So
I'm sorry, Claudia.
We don't want to lose anyone else's.
But like, yeah.
Our Waterstone sponsorship has gone down the drain.
Damn it! I wanted that so bad. But no, like I watched this was the original video that I watched that talked about this as well. That is what I realised about this author. Anyway, there's this one author that writes like I think it's like romance books or something. But she has written like in like 1 year like something like stupid like so many books like in such a short space of time, and they're all just like almost like the same thing. And it, like in the video that I watched, it was just talking about like how very often the books are like really terribly, in this person's opinion, very terribly written. And just how often they kind of seem to jump on this, like on whatever is like the trend. And I think specifically for like romance books, I don't read romance books myself, so I only really know this from this video that I watched. Like the lady who made the video, she like reads a lot of romance books and stuff, and she said that so often like you can see like there are heaps of videos online about like like we always joke about like people rating books like spice level 7 like things like that. Christ, and like how funny that is. But there are literal videos of like people that just like skip the rest of the book, just read like this chapter, this bit, this chapter, this page, whatever. Like I'm reading Bible verses. Like they're writing like verse 1, sentence 6.
Some people would make a review on Goodreads of like some like non-fiction like like history book and say like spice level 1. Like it's not really that. Do you know what I mean?
Hashtag enemies to lovers. Judas versus Jesus.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Not much spice in that.
Crazy.
One, no.
But it was just like there's so much about it, and I won't touch on it because it's also something that I don't really know. I don't have a personal knowledge about this like hobby itself and like this sphere, if you will. I'm sure there are plenty of other people come on the pod that can talk about book talk.
Yeah.
But like, just the idea that like trends almost completely ravaged the book sphere now. Like, you go into Waterstones every week and there are like new books you've never even heard of. And like people will like, I remember there was a TikTok I saw that was like this lady that was like, oh, I have 800 unread books on my shelf, so I'm banning myself from buying books until I read them all.
Oh my god.
Which is mental, because one, how do you have that many books?
That's a lot of books
on your shelf.
Yeah.
And two, like, why are you having to ban yourself? Ban is such a strong word.
Can't control myself.
Yeah, like, and it becomes because of popularity and wanting to be part of that group, it becomes less about just reading a book, and the actual reading of the book is the secondary to the buying all the limited edition covers of the book, having them on your shelf, just having hundreds of books on your shelf to be like, look how much of a reader I am. Like, it becomes less about the actual hobby and more just about looking like you participate in the hobby.
I got you. Yeah, okay, so I'm starting to kind of like, I get what you're talking about. Like, I was trying to, more so in the first half, I was trying to understand the direction of what you're saying, of like why potentially like hobbies have changed, or like how, you know, things like being online can negatively affect hobbies. But that probably is one of the biggest examples, right? Of like, that's pretty,
I think it's the most cut and dry,
clear,
black and
cut
white.
and dry of like, this is like negatively affecting the culture and the hobby. And even in the way of like you're saying about like authors pumping out books, like it's difficult because like in a way it's smart, right? Like if you're someone looking to make money, of course you're gonna try and make a thing that relates to like a current trend, and you're gonna get it out as quick as possible so you're ahead of everyone else. Yeah, fair enough. Like, you know, that's just how the world is, you know what I mean? That stuff's gonna happen. But it seems like it, again, I'm not an expert at this, but that screams to me that that's completely sacrificing like the art form of like writing.
Yeah.
If the only thing you care about is getting a book out or a piece of content out as quick as possible, then I don't think you really care about the content of the book.
It's like what you talked about with like music and like other creative things of like following the algorithms, like using this sound because it's trending, like making these things because that's trending. Like, it's the same with music. It's been massively influenced by TikTok and like the TikTok culture of music, and people write music slightly differently now.
It's super important to have like a bit that's like
repeatable,
could potentially go viral as like a sound,
and
like,
and that opens up the song. Like, that's the bit that people can focus on, like that earworm that hooks people in. And I think that's like really obvious with like this book sort of book talk, like reading as a hobby, kind of, that you see it the most clearly in all this, like that kind of thing of like there's also talk, again I say talk because I don't have like statistics or facts to fully back this up, but there's a lot of talk about how some authors have been like denied being published, or their book being published, because it doesn't have a trending,
really damn,
like something that is trending currently, which I think is why like romance, dark romance, those things are like trending so dramatically. Because think about things like, you know, back when, say, 50 Shades of Grey is like the first one that comes to mind, like that was like a really popular book, right, at the time, but it was like considered like almost like borderline scandalous that it was a thing,
even existed.
Whereas like now that's probably, I don't know, I don't read these books, but that's probably considered tame compared to some of the books that are probably like coming out now that are,
I mean, if you're
in that sphere of, whereas once upon a time that wasn't really like what everyone was reading, but now like you can walk around like a room and all these people are reading like the same stuff.
Especially if you're an author trying to be like, we gotta make something like edgy, we gotta get this out and it's gonna be like the best, the biggest, like, do you know what I mean, like for the sake of putting something out there and making money or whatever, making an impact, I suppose. Like,
and I think generally like and I think generally like the nature of like sort of how many books are coming out and stuff means that people aren't as original maybe as they were. Things are it's harder to be original because books are coming out so quickly. People haven't got the time to sit on ideas and write them. You know, writing a book, or just writing in general, takes a long time.
Yeah, crazy hard.
Like, the process of having that creative thought and then forming that into something that is like substantial and that builds a world that people want to read, whether that's like, even if it's non-fiction, right, and obviously we're mainly talking fiction at the minute, but like even if it's non-fiction, like that's a huge thing.
Oh, massive. That's what I mean when I say like it's at the detriment of the art form, like,
and it also, I think
that's what suffers.
And I think it also, like, we haven't really touched on this at all, but things like books and reading and stuff, like the way that they're being expected to be pumped out as quick as possible because of trend cycles happening so quickly. Things like, you know, you can talk about like AI coming into play and people using like AI bots and like art bots, like whatever, to make like front covers and illustrations to just get these things out quick as possible, because the time it takes to write something, like they might be having people like check, like they might not even have a real person checking their work anymore because it's just quicker. And that then
probably why things are missed.
And that's then what's, you know, making that art form and therefore hobby suffer.
Yeah.
And obviously there's an environmental impact as well, massively, by books and having physical copies of books. Like, it's lovely to have physical media, but obviously it's hard to deny, like, how many trees have to be cut down for that one lady to have 800 books on her shelf that she's not read.
Yeah, crazy actually. And I mean, especially, if you're pumping out, if you're an author writing like hundreds of books in a year or whatever, like, that's a lot of books.
I watched some people's videos of people saying, like, due to the way that reading culture and stuff is, like, moving, like, if you're going to get a new book, go to a charity shop, get a pre-loved book, because the amount that books are coming out and then going on the clearance shelf and then going in the bin very quickly. You know, like, it's the same with me. Like, a lot of the books I've read, like, I get maybe, like, a book a year from, like, for, like, a Christmas present and things, but, like, very often, I haven't bought myself a book in a long time. But I have quite a lot of books. I think the last time I bought a book was probably over a year ago.
That's probably fair, yeah. Well, I mean, you had, I guess at the point, you had ones you wanted to read, and you had, like, books that were bought for you. You know?
I'm also just one of those people, like, that I'm a firm believer, I guess, of just, I don't like to have books on my shelf. Like, looking at books, there's only one book I have on my shelf that I haven't read because of the fact that I just didn't like reading it, and I really tried. And that has been hard for me to come to terms with.
No, that's fair though, yeah.
Every book on my shelf I have read.
Yeah.
Or, like, hasn't been, like, a you read the whole way through kind of book. Like, some of my books are, like, maybe, like, self-help-esque books and stuff.
Yeah,
so, you know, or it's, like, something where I've started reading it, you know. But pretty much every book I have read. Or I'm in the midst of reading, because some books I have big books that I just need to put down for a couple of months and come back to. So
you're like the anti-book talk.
I can't deal with it.
You can't do it.
I hate having too much. I hate having too many books around me, because then I feel overwhelmed by the pressure to read them, and I don't like that. And that makes me not want to read them.
Yeah.
Which is why I find it crazy to imagine someone having 800 books I've never read. That's not me harping on anyone's decision to buy books, but I find that so intimidating and stressful.
It just gets to a point, doesn't it? Like, if you own books you haven't read, it's fine. Do you know what I mean? But it gets to a point, if you own like 100 books that you haven't read, you've just bought and haven't read, that's a lot of, like,
that's just paperweights. That's expensive paperweights.
It's an expensive hobby to not be doing the hobby.
But on the topic of that, like, the other thing that relates similarly is, like, colouring, and, like, how colouring is a big hobby now. People love colouring, right? And it's become like the internet did what the internet does, internet-fied colouring.
It's because it's fun to look at. It makes your brain go,
wow, pretty colours, pretty sounds.
The lines perfectly match up in the colouring book.
And it means that, like, everyone wants to buy the same, like, alcohol markers for their books, and everyone wants to buy the same books that are actually really cheap paper, that are actually, like, terrible to draw on or colour on or whatever. And, like, you know, people then have, like, whole, you know, set up my drawing set up with me, like, or my colouring, set up with me, and they've got, like, 50 colouring books, and, you know, like, a colouring book takes a long time. I don't know when the last time you coloured was, but they take a long time to fill in. Like, I remember I did some colouring pages in my, like, brother's Pokemon colouring book, and I did, like, 3, and they took me, like, 3 days.
I mean, you put, like, adult level of, like, you're shading and stuff and doing things. So if you spend, like...
Yeah, I'm pretty good at colouring.
If you spend, like, orange, and then, you know, you get through a bit. But no, like, a full book, a colouring book...
Takes a long time.
That would last a while. And
like, realistically, I don't think many people finish a colouring book.
I don't know, really, but I mean... Because
often you go in and it's not like you start from the first page and you work your whole way through. You just find a colouring thing that you like.
Yeah,
so
cool
that's just the nature of colouring. But, like, buying, like, 50 colouring books is just unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like, you've got loads there. Or if you really... Like, what I used to do for, like, my brother was I would draw... Obviously, I appreciate some people aren't necessarily, like, amazing at drawing or something. But if he wanted, like, something... If he wanted to colour something specifically that...
we couldn't get,
I would just draw the outline for him and let him colour it, and he was happy enough to do that.
Oh yeah.
Or I would print it. And I know not everyone has printers and stuff, but, like, I think realistically, like, it's just, if you want to colour something, like,
that's fine.
you can.
It's
But
fine.
I think buying, like, cheap
Yeah.
or buying, like, 50 books from Amazon to telling yourself you're going to colour them all is unrealistic.
I feel like people on, well, not everyone. I feel like some people on the like colouring book TikTok or like that sphere probably have more like colouring pens or more different shades of colouring pens than like actual artists.
Yeah, because you can mix colours together.
Well, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But like if you just have a book, it's just like,
Crazy.
I'm going to pick this particular shade of
This really pretty
blue.
shade of green
Yeah.
for my leaf. And then for this other leaf, I'm going to pick this other shade of green.
Yeah, literally, yeah. But anyways, I mean, we've gotten so off topic again. So we could bring it back to Head and Shoulders. I was thinking like the...
Oh, great, thanks.
Sorry,
Claudia Winkle is like over your shoulders with a knife. Like,
yeah, we better.
what did you say about Head and Shoulders?
This is the point of this video. We're gonna remember we're talking about shampoo today. Right.
She's like, you're a traitor.
Hey, that was good.
Got you. The only other thing that I wanted to bring up, and I wrote a little. Well, I made a note of it because it was something that I thought I didn't necessarily know how much you would personally engage with the other like points that I wrote about. You know, like the books and colouring and things like that.
To be honest with you, I didn't think I'd have much to say. But there's quite a lot to talk about. You know.
But that's why I wanted to keep it like open, because I think the point is, like I said at the beginning, this doesn't have a yes or a no. It's just a changed sphere, and there are negatives and positives, and I think it's just being aware of that, and I think it's just an interesting like thing to look into,
fun to talk about,
and to discuss. And I like to have discussions like this, not just with you but with other people, and just I think it's interesting to hear other people's opinions.
I mean, kind of the point of us filming this, right?
Podcast.
Like that's why we started doing this, because we were like, we would have this conversation probably over the course of like a few days, just randomly throughout the day, or we could just talk about it now. Do you know what I mean? Like, we'd have this conversation regardless, just probably in less detail, and you know. But since we're sat down here, we can actually talk about things properly. Do you know what I mean? So it's cool. It's cool.
But yeah, the last thing I wanted to specifically talk about, and this I've left this till last because it's the one thing that I think you'll have more to talk about, and it was particularly the reason why I didn't research it a lot. And I did research this before you started building your PC as well.
You mentioned gaming.
Yeah. So I wanted to discuss the concept of gaming as a hobby.
Okay.
You know, where it's morphed from, you know, think like old games or like, you know, like the old Atari games, things like that, like, or going to an arcade and playing a game, like that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
Up to what it is now, you know, online playing, streaming culture, like how people play games, how games are made, the expectation of people knowing things about games because of how big of a hobby gaming is.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
And how, like, we've discussed this in length.
Yeah, we tried quite a bit of this. Well,
anyway,
not this in particular, but in general, yeah.
What got me curious was the way that, like, the internet has allowed gaming to be monetized. You know, think of the people who have made a killing off of games, like posting games, and also how many developers of games have become successful due to this hobby being monetized and being online that maybe otherwise wouldn't have been discovered, right?
Yeah.
That's the positives, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of positives. I think I'm sure there's negatives too, but in my eyes, like, you have increased exposure, meaning that indie devs who are making a game are able to use, say, like platforms like Kickstarter or things like this to be able to actually fund and actually gather interest for like a project that would have, you know, 20 years ago, whatever, wouldn't have even been something that could ever happen, you know? And I suppose like socially as well, like everyone plays you can play games together now, you know, whether that be like couch co-op or like online, like that's such a big thing that's prevalent, you know. That is really like the social aspect of the hobby, I suppose. And that it did exist, but it didn't exist as much as it is now. It's so easy to play like online games, you know. So
my first thought about like the positives in recent gaming news as well. Subnautica as a game, for example, has, like, when it was first being made, it was obviously a like very small indie dev team, and it almost went under like half a dozen times, and yet it's become like a very, very well-known game.
Yeah.
That's been bought up by production companies, who then fired the CEO of the original company.
There's quite a big drama there, wasn't
there? He now got his job back, yippee. Hopefully the game's not crap.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I think that sort of stuff is positive. Think how much of a risk that was, and a big reason for them not sinking and for getting the exposure that they got.
Not sinking, huh? Subnautica, game about water, submarines, and sorry, carry on. You're saying.
But a big reason for that, doing as well as it did, was streaming culture.
Yeah.
And gaming
early
culture
access
and the internet.
Yeah.
Generally, and I think people's hobbies for playing games, and not just for playing games, but for watching people play games.
Yeah.
Is what gave that, and a lot of other games. There are so many other games that have this same sort of success story. That that's why. Without this, that would not have happened. I think it is very safe to say that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Because word of mouth is not quick enough for a game made by 5 people or 1 person
that's
to
what I mean
become
about,
that popular that quickly.
That's what I mean about Kickstarter and things like this.
Even Kickstarter, on its own, if that was just a thing, but streaming culture wasn't a thing, I don't think it would have the same reach. Think about the reach that, say, a streamer like Doug has on a game compared to just a Kickstarter page that's just put into the ether and you don't know about.
I mean, the combination of I guess the combination of everything, not just those 2 factors, but there's lots of different factors and they all combine together, don't they? Yeah.
But the only negative that I immediately think of, I mainly just left this loose because I wondered if it would be something that you wanted to touch on or talk about a bit more. But the one thing I was going to say, and this is mainly relating to particularly children who maybe haven't got the development yet to know when too much is too much, but whether the internet affecting the way that we play games and making them online and making them majorly way more competitive because of that, whether that is healthy. Because whether it means that kids don't develop a gaming hobby but more of a gaming addiction due to things like that. That is very dramatic. I just wanted to say it because we're on a podcast.
No, well, look, it's fair.
But that's my question, is what your opinion of that is. Because I don't have an answer and I didn't even research it. It's just a thought I had.
I don't know. I'm tempted to feel that that kind of space would probably be filled with a similar type of thing if in an alternate reality games didn't exist or whatever.
True.
But it's you can definitely kind of see that that's not great. I mean, there's factors in specific games as well, of things like microtransactions and things like this that have the potential to be harmful, and what's the other thing I'm thinking of now? Potential to be harmful and not predatory. I don't know, to try and get at you, try and hook you in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's definitely
it's not
of
made
that.
With positive
No.
Positive ideas in mind. It's more just
it's made
to grab money, to grab attention.
Play our game, buy our game, give us money.
And attention and exposure.
I mean, obviously that's, again, the point of the majority of things because it's an industry, it's whatever. But there is a big difference between games and predatory games that are microtransactions trying to get you hooked compared to a game that wants you to enjoy it for the sake of enjoying it.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know where I'm going with that, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, I was just looking at this. Yeah, so, I mean, again, it's not exactly what we were saying about, but in a similar way, there's a recent lawsuit that's been made against, I think it was against Valve? Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is basically alleging that the, loot box features in their games is, gambling and can be harmful for, people, but specifically young people. So that is actually...
I haven't actually heard about...
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's that specific lawsuit or one that maybe happened before. How old is that lawsuit?
It's pretty recent.
Oh, I think
it's February.
I think something like that has happened before then.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
I swear I remember something to do with I think there was a CS:GO lawsuit or something to do with loot boxes and stuff.
I think that's this.
Oh, this must be rumbling on for a long time then.
It probably has been. I don't know.
Okay.
Again, I've literally only heard of it in passing, but it kind of relates to what you're saying. Do you know what I mean? There's stuff that I think people are aware of, and I think there's things that companies are getting away with that they probably shouldn't be getting away with.
This is why I wanted to bring it up though, because I think like the way that games are made, like I think the making of games now is inherently more predatory than it was, because it's a multi-billion like pound, dollar, etc. industry.
Pound, dollar,
etc.
yeah.
Like it's very like, you know, lucrative industry.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
If you get it right? And I think that it's now very, very difficult for a game to be made that doesn't either get warped into something that's microtransaction, like transactionary, predatory kind of vibe. I guess it's just a case of like, you know how I said about, you know, it takes joy away from the hobby. You know, things like the need for people to stream like games, the pressure to make money from doing this thing, like the pressure to try and like to be told by a production company you have to add microtransactions to your game to make more money. Like selling the game isn't enough, like you need download copies of the game so that we can like update it and revoke it and sell DLC content, and like it's not just you know, I don't know, you know what I mean, like it's different, it's just different. But
in the same way as we're talking about books, like again the thing that suffers from that is the art form. And again, who suffers as the result of the art form suffering is the consumer. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're playing a game and it's plagued with microtransactions and like pay to win type things, then it's gonna impact your experience. Even if you're just like, oh, I don't care about that stuff, and you just ignore it, that's fine. But you know, if it's an online game and you're put at a disadvantage because you don't have certain things.
This is what I was gonna say, because
that's impactful. I
think like gaming is a hobby, but I think for specifically like gaming now, I think online gaming isn't the default, but it's a big aspect of like gaming culture now. Like a lot of people play games online, and a big draw to gaming is being able to play with your friends. And I think that with that, often like most games that are online now, you can have like, you know, couch co-op kind of games, but I think a lot of the games that are online now are on like servers or whatever, like require like internet access for you to play with other people, things like that.
Well, I mean, that is the draw.
Yeah.
The draw is that you can play with anyone you want anywhere.
Yeah. But the point was that obviously there are negatives that come with that anyway, but I think that's what then encourages things like the play to win like models and things like that, because it's like, you know, it's adding that competitive nature to a game that maybe doesn't need to be that competitive. I don't know. I don't play online games because I don't like playing online games. I hate them.
I think, yeah, but I think it's kind of the point. I'm just
trying to rage bait you.
No, because I agree with you, but like what you're saying is like the games you're talking about are probably 99% of the time competitive games anyways. So there's always going to be a competitive aspect, right? But yeah, it's when again, it's not every game, but when something can be like pay to win, meaning you gain an advantage, a competitive advantage over people if you own something or if you've paid something. If you're just like pay money for like a skin because you think it looks cool and you want to pay, you know, it's fine. Like it's whatever. But yeah, if you're able to like, I don't know, pay money into a game and then therefore like level up faster or like unlock things quicker or sooner, or do you know what I mean? There is kind of negative impacts of that, right? Like because it means you're getting an advantage before other people who haven't paid that money. So yeah, that's kind of where the difficulty of it comes. But
and my only other question regarding like gaming as a hobby, and this is why I brought up the PC thing, is whether you think that can negatively impact people who say can't afford good consoles, can't afford new games, can't afford new setups, things like that, and whether like it can be like almost like it can push people out a little bit with, you know, things progress so quickly. Like some games like you can't play unless you have the newest version of this thing or the best quality, like this, that, the other. Like I'm just curious what your opinion is of that, because, you know, especially like people getting into like games and they really enjoy it and everyone plays on this thing, but I only have this. Like, whether that is isolating, because there are so many ways to play games, not everyone can have every single console, every single, like, can't have, like, the best PC, can't always have, like, every method to play those games.
What I think of that is, like, that's always existed, right? Because you've got, like, even from, like, early online gaming, like, you've had, whether you play on Xbox or whether you play on PlayStation, right? That's just the big divide of the consoles, right? So I think that kind of vibe has always been around, but the bit that is kind of, I think, the most, I don't know, maybe impactful for me is the now, like, paying for an online a subscription to be able to play online.
Yeah.
Which now is, you know, it's a thing with PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo as well. You know, like, that's probably, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a barrier for entry, but, like, I don't know.
I feel like I would consider it a put off. Like, if you're not necessarily massively into this.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, like, I'm personally someone who doesn't, like, play online games really anyway. But if I wanted to, that would be a massive thing that put me off playing like, online, because, like, I don't care that much about...
Yeah, sometimes you have to pay money just, like, to be able to use an online feature.
Just to be able to talk to my friends.
Yeah, like, I used to play... Like, I used to have a PS Plus subscription, do you know what I mean? And, you know, because of that, I played online games and you know, this kind of thing. And but I don't really as much anymore, because previously playing on PlayStation, I don't have access to that anymore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, there's always things about, like, you know, when the new console comes out, eventually the old one will be obsolete for, like, you know, certain games won't be released on it and all this kind of thing. So, yeah, there's always a slight kind of, not pressure, but there's always something about, you know, upgrading and needing to put more money into things. That's just kind of as technology progresses.
But this is kind of like the only other... I promise this is the final question. But this is my question overall about, like, that sort of hobby and, like, the gaming sphere and, like, you know, like, the need for things to progress. Like, progression is for computers, for gaming, and I guess the internet as a whole, because this is kind of what we're discussing, like, the idea of how the internet has affected hobbies. But do you think that this need to progress everything so quickly all the time can impact joy and enjoyment of things, because it's constantly making things obsolete all the time, a lot quicker than it once did?
I don't know.
You know, people don't have the time maybe so much. This is a bit more of a overall, like, philosophical question, I guess, in a way.
I don't know.
Like, do you think it affects people? And this is a everyone question. Do you think it affects people when things become obsolete too quickly? Like, do you think it means that people don't enjoy things for as long a period of time as they once did?
I don't know. I don't really feel that, to be honest with you. Like, it's a valid maybe question and, you know, thing to talk about. I don't really feel that. I think that if anything, like, things now are progressing a lot slower than they ever have done. Do you know what I mean? Like, looking back, like, the difference between, obviously there's still a culture of, like, you know, when the PS5 came out, it's like, oh, you don't have a PS5? Like, oh, you're still playing. I didn't experience that, but maybe there could have been a little bit of that, of, like, oh, you don't have the newest thing, like, oh, damn, like, yeah, I it's not something that affected me. But having said that, the difference between the PS4 and the PS5 compared to, like, you know, the PS1 and the PS2 is, like, tiny, because that was, like,
huge. The PS2.
Yeah, that was, like, huge, like, innovation. Do you know what I mean? And there's still, like, huge things happening. There's still, like, really cool, really exciting, like, innovations and technologies that are developed. But, like, we are kind of getting to the point where it's, like, for seemingly much smaller gaps in innovation and in, like, in that kind of thing than maybe it once would have done, or once would have had. But yeah, again, I'm not sure. It's not really something that I've felt. But I don't know. Leave your comments.
This is why I like posing questions like that to you, because I just feel like overall I have so much more of a, like, pessimistic outlook to things than you do. Like, I'm very, very, like, I'm much more often just, I pose a really dramatic question to you about something, and then you're like, I don't think so.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in that specific example, I'm like, my genuine answer is like, meh, I don't know. But if I'm thinking about it in more detail, because
I just like
about it.
I just like posing
I do
questions
have an
like
answer
that
for
to
you.
you.
You know, that's kind of my answer for you. But yeah, no, it's not really something that I've. I think the people that play games to enjoy games kind of, we'll always do that, and you'll always find a way. And yeah, like you'll have to upgrade if you want the newest thing.
I guess that's hobbies in general, though, isn't it? Like,
yeah, if you want the newest thing when the newest thing comes out, it's going to cost money. If you want the newest book as soon as an author releases it, you'll have to pay for it rather than finding it in a charity shop 5 years later. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's, again, very different.
Yeah.
Very different. But similar kind of vibe. Like, if you don't mind, like, waiting and then experiencing something maybe a little bit behind, say, the trend or the hype, then that's fine. But if you do want to be on that ride, then you have to kind of you kind of realize that there's a price tag and there's I think that's
also just a deeper point of how hobbies are maybe just affected by attention spans, and hype and trends are just have a much vaster reach now than they once did. Therefore, it affects people's need/want to wait for things.
Things can come and go.
Not necessarily that is negative, but it's just that, if you know something's there, you're not going to want to wait 5 years for it because it's there.
Yeah.
And that other people have it. It's like how like films or something will get released earlier in the US than they do here. And then you have no choice but to wait because you can't see it yet.
Or seasons of Bob's Burgers.
Or seasons of Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But sorry, I do have one more question for you though, just to kind of, because we got way off topic again. If we just circle back, so what do you think Claudia Winkleman would think of like the current video game culture? And
right, I think we're gonna go and have lunch.
Damn. Okay. I'm so excited to hear your take.
I enjoyed that a lot. I think that was very interesting. Like. Avenue to fall down, even if I did get a little bit pessimistic.
Good little topic. That was cool.
And the next episode is about Claudia Winkleman and Head and Shoulders.
It is, yeah.
We're going to rank all the people in The Traitors from best to worst.
Are we?
Never watched The Traitors.
Yeah, we'll do that then. We'll do that.
You're gonna show me like pictures and be like, was this person in The Traitors, yes or no? And there's gonna be a lot of people that weren't in The Traitors, and I'll be like, they look suspicious. Yeah, they were totally in The Traitors.
These random people.
Yeah. I don't even understand how The Traitors works.
You don't. But you do understand that Claudia Winkleman
uses Head and Shoulders.
Gets paid a lot of money by Head and Shoulders.
Claudia, let me know how much you get paid.
That's my main takeaway from this episode is that is that she probably does have to use Head and Shoulders. Okay,
well, cheers. That was very, very good episode. I'm gonna leave you with the thought of Claudia Winkleman.
Nice one. Thanks a bunch. Claudia Winkleman just at like 1% opacity, just like here in the background, just going like this.
What, for the whole ending?
Just like a ghoulie in the background, you can't see her.
For the ending or just the whole thing?
Just
every time we say
her
Claudia
name,
Winkleman.
It gets like a little bit less opaque every single time. No, a little bit more opaque is what I mean. I'm doing that.
That's funny.
I hope you understand that's happening.
Yeah, that's really funny. I like that.